Hello there, the internet. You'll realize you don't see our beautiful faces once again this week. The reasoning for that is we're going to have a pretty abbreviated episode this week. I have a few things I need to take care of that just popped up right before this recording. And so we're going to do an abbreviated episode this week, and then we're probably going to pop out. We'll be back to our beautiful face cams for Bristol Dirt next week. So, what I want to start with is last night we actually weren't watching the cup race, which according to Twitter we missed absolutely nothing because we were doing something very exciting. We got to see our buddy Mike Young. He was in his very first truck race. He did late model trucks at the Las Vegas Bull Ring last night.
Yeah, that was very exciting to kind of see his debut race. The beginning of the race was kind of almost a, train wreck, but we figured it out and made sure he got back on track.
The man blew his dipstick out, so we nicknamed him Dipstick for the weekend. What was it? I wasn't there on Saturday, so can you
I
run me through what happened on Saturday?
Oh, Friday.
Friday,
So,
sorry.
um, Friday he had two practice sessions. Actually, he had three, but first practice session, he kind of took it easy, wasn't running too hard, and then second session he went a little bit more aggressive as far as like going into the turns, and he looked pretty good. Um, Not gonna lie, he looked pretty racy out there. He had to work on his lines a little bit, but nothing too major. Up until probably like 2 minutes into practice session, he was coming on the backstretch and literally just like bursted into flames. And I'm like, oh shit. And I'm a spotter at the time, so I told him like, hey, shut the car off, turn the fans on, just pull over to the side whenever you can. So, he got all his belts off and he waited for fire safety to get there, and luckily they were able to push the car back. Luckily he wasn't hurt either. Um, so once they brought the car back, they kind of evaluated it. He thought the motor was blown. He thought like his weekend was done with. He thought he wasn't going to race, and turns out that the dipstick got popped out,
It's an
which was a
interesting
funny
thing.
story.
It is a funny story, and I'm gonna play the GoPro footage over that explanation there because like fire safety got there. They did their job. They were spot on. They were there. Like Mike was stopping, and you can see the lights in the background as they're coming over. So he parked in
Yeah,
a
they're
weird. From what I saw, he did park in a weird spot on the track, but they were still able to get to him pretty quickly and assess
yeah,
that
and then they weren't
situation.
even on the track either, so
Oh
they
yeah,
were pretty quick about it.
yeah, because they're stationed just out of where. So the way the LVMS bull ring is set up, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, the cars enter the track kind of on the exit of turn two. That's kind of where the garage area is. So there's like a little like cutout in the wall, and all the cars come off of out of from behind turn two. That's also where the safety vehicles are stationed. They're on the other side of that wall, just outside turn two. Um, from what I understand, Mike was parked on the complete opposite end of the track, all the way down in like the middle of three and four. And so when you watch the GoPro footage, it's great how fast they got there because they had to come from behind the wall in turn two and bust ass down to turn three and four to get this fire out.
Well, I think once he shut the car off, the fire like just stopped. So it was like a quick like burst of flames, and it kind of like went away afterwards. So luckily,
Oh,
the fire didn't continue on like as he was like trying to stop.
so it was like a little flash fire situation.
Yeah,
Yeah, but even then, I just want to
but
commend the LVMS safety team for because in the situation where that had not been a dipstick and the engine did go boom, they
they were
got
really
there.
quick about
They
it.
were really quick about it. So shout
Yeah,
out to them.
yeah,
And yeah, like you mentioned there too, you made your spotting debut on Friday.
yeah. That was exciting. I was not expecting that. That morning when I woke up, I did not think I was gonna be a spotter.
Yeah,
So,
the way Chris explained it to me on the phone that night was he said he woke up, he got to the track, and Mike handed him a headset and said, "Hey, you're spotting for me today."
and like all I thought I was gonna do is just take pictures.
Yeah,
But turns
nope.
out that I'm going to be a spotter. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to figure this thing out. So let's see how it goes.
There you
Um,
go.
but he told me like I did pretty well. Um, I think what I learned as being a spotter is that you kind of have to, not only there to tell him where all the other cars are at, you just kind of have to be uh, like kind of remind him of like simplest things. Make sure your visor's down. Make sure stay calm in like certain situations. Make sure he runs his lines. He doesn't get too distracted. Anything happens on the track, just make sure he's aware of that too, like cautions or if there's a car stopped on the track. So
If his hat flies out the window, that's another thing. I should have made a list. I wasn't there Friday night, so God only knows what happened then, other than him blowing the dipstick out. But Saturday, in a single day, this man made a practice run with his visor up. He left his hat in the truck and it flew out the fucking window. And they had to throw a caution to go out and get his hat, which was at the end. I think they waited till the end of the session to go get it. But just the fact that his hat flew out the window was incredible to me.
yeah,
He did something else. What else did he do?
he spun out.
Well, I mean that was kind of expected. So he spun out after he was. Oh, that's right. He was raving about how he couldn't spin the truck out, and then went and spun the truck out. Left his visor up during a run, threw his hat out the window. He didn't throw it out the window, but it blew out the window because he left it just sitting on the dash in the truck like a fool. I swear there was something else that was really funny that he did, and I can't remember what it is now. I should have written it down.
GoPro was facing backwards.
Oh yeah, you guys put the GoPro on backwards at one point.
Because he set up the GoPro, but I guess I forgot to turn it around. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Good job, guys.
but I would say it was a pretty eventful day. Not just a day, but a weekend. But,
It was, and he wasn't that bad either. Like obviously it's his first race. He's not going to do anything spectacular, but like the way he was running, he wasn't running bad at all.
yeah. Because like I was expecting him to run in the back, but he was able to pass some cars. Stay up with the leaders for a little bit.
Yeah, he was able to hold his ground very well. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he did pretty well. And then before the race, I think you were gone. You already left because I think you went to go take care of like the UNLV kids.
Oh yeah.
He because they had the battery plugged up to get charged, and he told me just unplug it, and then let me know when you unplug it. So I was taking everything off, and then I told him like, all right, you're good. I'm trying to start it, and he tries to hit the switch. Usually when you hit the switch, you'll see the lights come on the dash. He hit the switch, and nothing was coming on. No fans, no lights, no nothing. He's like, I'm not getting power. So I'm like, what the fuck? So then I ran over to like one of the pit crew guys, and I told him like, hey, he's not getting any power. So they went over there, looked inside. They tried flipping it, the switch. They saw he wasn't getting any power. So then they looked inside. He's looking around the battery. He doesn't know what's going on. And then he sees like the ground cable. It's like tethered on, like it's loose. And then he's like, I know what the problem is. And then he points it to me and he says the cable just came off, like it's completely off. So I was like, oh shit. So then Matt Jaskell came running over. He looked at it, and then they were trying to repair as much as they could. They tried putting zip ties and like tape to hold it together just so he could race. And luckily it worked. But yeah, he almost didn't run the race.
That was the other thing, was they were running with a battery fucking duct tape and zip tied down because it kept unplugging itself. I forgot about that one. Which also, dude, shout out to Matt Jaskell too. Like he had gotten home. Like everyone watching this video already knows what happened with G2G Racing and Matt Jaskell. We personally will not address that. We're gonna leave that to the professionals to address that. So, but if you're watching this, there's a high chance you know what happened to them. So I also just want to give a shout out to Matt Jaskell because he apparently had gotten home 2 hours before this had happened, and when he got home, he had sent Mike a text, or Mike had texted him. I'm not entirely sure exactly what transpired, but he came out to the speedway to help Mike out in his debut, and he took over spotting for you too. So like he helped with the truck, set it up, he figured out the battery issue for us, and then he took the role of spotter for Mike during the race. He did not have to do that after having the world's pooliest weekend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see him out there because like I talked to Mike. Mike's like, "Are you okay with it?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like I would rather have him than me during a race." I'm like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's fun to do the spotting, but at the same time, you're I don't think it's a good idea to have a first-time driver and a first-time spotter to be on the racetrack.
I mean, it'd be fun, but
It would be fun, but I think at that time it would have been better to have Jazz Call to do it than me. So
yeah. So but that's the thing you mentioned earlier too. Is UNLV had their film program out there. They were doing some, what was it? It was like testing. They wanted to try out something new just to kind of get the students used to like actual live motorsports. And because a lot of them hadn't actually filmed motorsports before, that's why you guys called me, because I didn't go down Friday because I had other things to do. But
yeah,
Friday night, Mike called me and goes, "Hey," because he had his race to deal with and everything else that was going on. He didn't really have time to like direct things around. And so that he had called me and said, "Hey, can you come down and help do like creative direction, all this fun jazz?" Because I have a little bit of experience with that from my time in TV. And so that's why I came down Saturday. I came down Saturday to help them with the setups and give them tips on how to film motorsports and all these fun things. And honestly, I had a lot of fun. And those kids, they learned pretty quick. Like they fully admitted. A few of them said that they had no experience in this kind of field and how to do it. But my biggest fear is that they were going to be like snotty high school kids, not want to listen. But then I remembered, oh wait, these are actually college kids who are here to further their careers and get a degree. And
yeah,
so they actually listened to the advice I gave them, and they applied it to what they were doing. And I was happy with the improvement they were making. Like from the footage I was looking at when the day started, compared to the footage I was looking at when the night ended, there was a huge upgrade in quality and how they were doing it. So that tells me that they were listening to what I was telling them and they were incorporating those little tips and tricks and things.
yeah. And I mean, it's exciting too because, like you said, it's an environment they're not used to. They're used to like just a different environment compared to motor racing. Motor racing is very high paced, so you have to kind of keep up with a lot of things. So it's good that you were there. You kind of showed them the ways, and they were able to adapt to that type of environment. So shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out to me. So, dude, overall, being at the boring was a nice breath of fresh air. I forgot how much I missed being at the track, and it was just so much fun to do all that. Frustrating, but fun. So,
Yeah, it was frustrating, but it was fun.
yeah. So now with that being said, let's roll on into what will probably go down as the worst Martinsville weekend in history.
Ooh.
So just
Yes.
for some
Well, I
context,
wouldn't say the worst weekend, but I would say the worst cup race.
the worst
Because
cup.
I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like the
fair.
trucks and the Xfinity were pretty decent.
You know what? You're right. The worst cup race at Martinsville in the history of Martinsville,
Yes.
because I
But
didn't
even
watch
with
the
that
truck
statement,
race.
that's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I get. You know what? Fuck it. One of the not great ones. The no good, very bad cup race in Martinsville. So, um, so just for some background information, because everything was pushed up a day and the way my work schedule is, I was working during the truck race, and then I also had 8 billion other things happening. So I never watched the truck race. I never even watched the highlights of the truck race. I don't know anything about what happened at the truck race other than
Ooh, I do.
Haley Deegan and who was it?
Um,
It was
Lawless Allen.
that's right. It
And
was
let me
Lawless
tell you,
Allen and
he was
Haley
very
Deegan.
lawless.
How did that go, by the way? Because I saw the
Oh.
picture on Twitter, but I have yet to see any kind of video or know what the hell happened there.
So, the first incident was actually with Haley Deegan and Johnny Sauter. So, did you see that one?
I haven't seen jack shit. Like literally the
Okay.
only thing I saw out of the truck race was Haley Deegan and Lawless Allen. That is all the information I have on the truck race.
Because a lot of people were confused about that. So the first incident was with Deegan and Johnny Sauter. So Sauter, I think it was like early in the race, like 20 laps in, and he like pretty much like slammed her into the outside wall. And people were like, "What the fuck? Like, why are you doing that? Like, that's so uncalled for." And then
Whoops.
luckily she was able to fix her car. They were able to get back up and running.
She got
Um,
him back, right? Oh wait, no, because he finished
I don't know
second,
if she
didn't
did.
he?
He finished second.
I think Johnny
But
Sauter
after the
finished second,
race,
didn't he?
yeah, he finished second.
Okay.
But after the race, I guess people were like, somebody interviewed Johnny Sauter, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like, I'm mistaken. He said I didn't see her outside of there. Like I completely messed up my line. So he's like, that's completely my fault. So I mean, he did apologize. So I mean, he knew it was his fuck up, but at the same time, it doesn't make it okay.
No.
um, but there was a lot of cautions for that race, though. Not gonna lie, a lot of cautions.
Okay.
A
Because that's
lot of
something
people
my
were,
nana told me. Because my nana watched the truck race. She told me it was kind of a mess.
yeah. As far as like the Haley Deegan and Lawless Allen, I didn't see the contact with for that one, so I wasn't too sure um what happened between them. But all I know is that he called her like a bitch or something like that. Because I guess like somebody was reading her lips, and it looks like she says like I'm the bitch, like I'm the bitch. But
Whoopsie.
yeah,
Poor Haley.
um, yeah, tough start to the season. But I mean, at least she got like a top 20. So
That's fair, I guess. Where did she end up finishing? She ended up. Oh,
19th.
they ended up next to each other. Yeah, 19th and 20th is where they finished. Deegan
Yeah,
and Allen.
yeah. So
All right. Any notes you want to add to the truck race?
um, not no, I think I'm good. I would say that's pretty much all I want to talk about.
Okay. Before we get into the meat of the sandwich, which would be the Xfinity race, let's just skip that for a moment and talk about the Cup race. Which once again, we were at the bull ring during the Cup race, so neither of us watched it, but we both watched the highlights, and I zoned out real hard during the highlight video.
Yeah. No, like honestly, I watched it too, and it was just completely boring. There wasn't a whole lot going on. From what I've heard from drivers, is that a lot of them were saying that it was just like a no pass zone, just a one lane track. People weren't able to run the outside because I mean, usually like some drivers were able to run the outside. I mean, you saw last year with Denny Hamlin, he was
Yeah.
kind of able to hold his line on the outside, kind of maintain his position. Um, but as far as this race, people were saying that there was no passing lane. You were either running the bottom or you're gonna get a freight train on top.
That's fair. Cause look, this just based on the laps led, the leader led more than half the goddamn race, and then Chase Elliott led the other half of the race. So like
Yeah.
that in itself tells the story of how that race went. Something I did see that I wanted to bring up. I want to get your opinion on this. I should have screenshot it or written it down so I could have remembered who tweeted it. So unfortunately, I don't remember who the tweet was from. But somebody had mentioned, they said they thought this happened today during the Cup race or yesterday. Saturday night, the Cup race was so lame because of the lower horsepower, whereas the trucks in Xfinity have their regular amount of horsepower. This is the lowest horsepower we've seen for the Cup cars at Martinsville. So do you think the low horsepower played a part into why no one could do anything?
Um, I guess it could, yeah. Because I watched a lot of the interviews with like all the drivers pretty much. I know Blaney was kind of commenting saying that with less horsepower, it's kind of like you're going back to that slot car racing type of racing. So
Yeah.
they said like at least with like the more horsepower, you can kind of like wheel your way around everybody. But I feel like with the lower horsepower package, it kind of has like that slot car vibe where everybody just kind of rides around behind each other. And then,
Okay.
yeah, I mean that's all I got to talk about as far as that topic. But
Yeah, me too. Because I'm just like, we didn't watch it, but from what I saw in the highlights and on Twitter, didn't miss much. So
yeah, um, actually, there's one more thing. I guess a lot of people were saying that it was really hard to kind of move somebody because I know like on that final restart, Logano was trying to like move Byron, but it's like they can time it right because like if he brakes checks him at a certain point of the turn, he can kind of just pull away and like mess up his momentum. So that's kind of like another thing. It's not like the
oof.
old traditional like short track where like you can move a guy and then like get right underneath him and keep going, but it's just yeah, it's a different type of racing,
Oof.
which is
Okay.
kind of sad too because like three of the short tracks this year are have been pretty boring because Phoenix was pretty uneventful. Richmond was uneventful. I mean, you had a little bit of passing, but not too much. And then Martinsville, it's
Snooze
kind of a
fest.
snooze fest. I
I
mean,
I'm
I would
pretty
say
sure it
LA.
is the lower horsepower because I think what's happening. Well, the LA Coliseum is incredibly fucking tiny,
Yeah,
so I think
I
that's
was
why
gonna
it
say.
worked at the Coliseum. It's like a quarter of the size of fucking Martinsville. It's a little pea racetrack, but I think it is the lower horsepower because I think the. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I don't have my notes for that in front of me. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think they're only doing a horsepower change for the super speedways at Daytona and Talladega, and I think they're carrying the same horsepower package through the intermediates and the short tracks. So I think because they're running the same package on the big ovals like they are like somewhere like Vegas and they are at Martinsville, I think that's what's hurting it is that we don't get more horsepower in the short tracks and that less power it's harder to do things. That's my theory anyway. I could be wrong, but that's just
Yeah,
my theory.
I mean, I think if it's that less horsepower means less aggressive racing.
Yeah.
It's like taking like a Bandolero racing against a legend car.
Whoopsie. That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Not very well. It might work, but not very
I
well.
mean, like I want to say like racing against them, but it's like a Bandolero. It's like you can bump somebody, but it won't be as aggressive. To where like a legend, you can like move somebody a lot easier. I would say,
Okay.
or like maybe like a go kart and a legend. Like a go kart, it's like you can bump somebody, but they can kind of keep their spot without having to mess up their turn or anything like
Right, that's fair. So now bump it into the big talking point. The Xfinity race was a good race, but just the one thing I really wanted to cover. Well, actually, two things I really want. Three things. I have three comments on the Xfinity race that I really wanted to just to highlight. Sorry, I just kept growing that number.
that.
Where is my thing? So first off, I cannot say his last name, so I apologize. But Parker Retzlaff, is that how you say that?
Parker Retzlaff.
Yeah, Parker Retzlaff. The dude's making what, his third start, and he put it in 12th?
Yeah, I mean he's had a lot of good runs. Last week at Richmond, he got a top 10.
Jesus fuck.
So I mean,
Oh,
for an
that's right, he
18-year-old
did.
kid,
Because didn't he
yeah.
finish like 6th last week or something like that?
No, he finished 10th.
10th. Oh, sorry. I was thinking of
But
somebody else.
still, for an
Um,
18-year-old kid that's done iRacing, that's pretty good.
I was going to say, this man just showed up and said, bet. Two top 15 finishes. So that's what I wanted to get out of the way first. Is first I wanted to give a huge shout out to him because that's insane. The
And
second thing,
this is a like Ryan Siege racing car too. It's not like a Joe Gibbs or anything like that. I mean, I'm not saying that Ryan Siege racing cars aren't that good, but it's like you're going up against Joe Gibbs racing drivers and colleague racing.
yeah.
It's
Well,
really
Ryan Sieg
competitive.
finished ninth, so it's like the Ryan Sieg racing cars. They're not bad cars, but they're definitely top 10 cars. And so the fact that this brand new kid can just come out here and still do that is really impressive. It's like this man has never sat, as far as I'm aware, he's just done iRacing, hasn't raced Xfinity before, and in 3 starts he's got already 2 top 15 finishes, and with essentially no real life racing experience.
Yeah, 'cause I know he did one race last year at the championship race, but that's it.
Okay. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him because that's super impressive. The other thing I wanted to pick up is the parking lot that happened. I brought up the red flag. Very reminiscent of the truck race that happened last year or 2 years ago.
I think last year.
It was last year when they had their parking lot at Martinsville. So,
They
like
said it's my turn.
they were crashing well after the caution came out. Like they were all trying to pull away from the accident, and they were still crashing into each other because people would turn around at the same time and ram into each other. It's just like, bruh, the track is clogged. Like there's literally nowhere to go.
Like, where are you gonna go, dude?
Nowhere. They just kept hitting each other. And I was like, bro, they're gonna. It's like bumper cars until they can all get it sorted out, and it was. It really was just bumper cars until they cleared out enough cars that there was enough room to actually get through it.
I'm surprised Retzlaff made it through that too. Retzlaff and Junior.
Oh, that's right, huh?
because they were like right in the mix of that. I was like, oh shit.
Good God, that was insane to watch too. But I guess because I'm trying to move this along too, because we've already been recording for like 20, almost half an
Uh,
hour.
yeah, almost half an hour.
Yeah. So the big talking point I really wanted to address is the sore thumb in the room, Ty Gibbs. The Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer incident. Who do you want the talking stick, or can I have the talking stick first? How do you want to do this?
I'll give you the talking stick
You
first.
want to give me? Okay, you're gonna throw me under the bus first. Got it. Okay. I. It's pretty well known in the videos you guys have watched with our face cams. I do have Joe Gibbs Racing flags in my background. However, um, it is very difficult. It's I can't even say it's difficult. It's damn near impossible to defend Ty Gibbs here. Like, from what I saw in that video, um, I don't know if I can put a replay up. I might if I can snag one. But first of all, what I wanted to say is the initial incident that pissed off Ty Gibbs to begin with. In my book, there was nothing wrong there. Like, he was already up on the outside line because he was battling with Brandon Jones. And once Jones got clear of him, that's when Sam Mayer and Landon Castle filled that hole. Like, that's just what happens, especially short track racing at Martinsville. They filled the hole. There was a little bit of contact. They kind of bumped doors a little bit, sent Mayer up the hill, which hit Gibbs, and then Gibbs went up the hill and lost all of his spots. That's just what happens in short track racing. It's what happens at Martinsville, especially if you end up on that outside lane. I mean, obviously he had the right to be upset, because I would be upset too if I was racing for the win, sitting in second and then got bumped up the hill. But I wouldn't go and assault a man over it. Like, I'd go down there and I'd be like, yo, what happened? Talk to him, and then be like, okay, well, that's fine. Look at the replay to understand it was a short track racing incident, which is easy for me to say because I'm not in the driver's seat.
We were fighting hard. We definitely did.
But he went down there, kept his helmet on, and from what I remember, I don't have a replay in front of me, but I did watch it a few times yesterday. Um, as Sam Mayer was taking his helmet off, I don't know if he pushed him or if he punched him, but there was definitely some kind of physical contact as Mayer was taking his helmet off. And you can tell Mayer was confused as to why Ty Gibbs was mad, because he walks up to him. You can see Mayer like shrug his shoulders. I don't know if that was a shrug as in like a fuck you shrug, or if it was a shrug as in I don't know why you're over here shrug. But as he was taking his helmet off, to what I presume talked to Ty, Ty just like shoved him, punched him, whatever he did. Which is why Sam Mayer went over and like called him a jackass, because there's a video where you can hear Sam Mayer call him a jackass, which is fair in that point. It's 100% fair. And then Ty Gibbs starts swinging on him. Just doesn't take his helmet off. He lands like a good 3 or 4 punches, and then it looks like he just wouldn't let him go, and that was that whole thing. And then post fight, in his interview, had the audacity to be like, "Well, Sam Mayer got up in my face and we had to start fighting." It's like, no, I think you're missing a piece there. You actually got in Mayer's face first, and when he came to confront you about it, you punched him in the jaw, and that's what started that whole kerfuffle. So like, as much as I like Toyota Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing, I can't and I won't defend Ty Gibbs on this, because he has a dirty reputation of moving drivers around. I will stand by what I said last week. What he did in Richmond, I feel like, was fair short track racing, and what happened in Vegas was complete bullshit. But I can't and I won't defend Ty Gibbs this weekend, because there's literally physically no way for me to even kind of logically explain how Ty Gibbs could be okay in that situation. Like, nothing that transpired there could even kind of justify the fight.
Yeah. I can't justify him either. And like you said, like I support Joe Gibbs Racing too. Like, I've been a Kyle Busch fan. I support Danny, Truex, Bell, all the Xfinity drivers that come across it too. But I mean, with Ty Gibbs, like, I've always seen an issue with him. It's just like you said, he's always an aggressive driver, which is good to be aggressive, but at the same time, you have to understand like your boundaries. Um, it goes back to last year, the same thing with Martinsville. Same driver, Sam Mayer, like, he kind of lost his temper, and then like he brake checked Sam Mayer. That wasn't necessary to do that, but he did it. So And then coming back to this year, Vegas, he lap 3. He's running really hard. It's 3 laps into the race, and he spins out Ryan Siege.
Didn't just spit him out, crashed him.
Yeah. And it's like, the dude comes up to me, he's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's 3 laps into the race. Like, why are you running so hard? And, like, he can, apologize and be like, oh, it's my fault. But, it's one thing to apologize, but it's another thing if you just apologize and just do the same thing over and over again. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, like, when you apologize, because they know, like, oh, well, he's going to apologize, but he's going to do the same shit next week. It's like, there's no point to it. And then this week, with Sam Mayer, it's like you said, it wasn't his fault. He had a driver into his inside. He bumped him, and then unfortunately, Ty Gibbs got the short end of the stick. It's the same thing with Kyle in the Truck Series. Like at Coda, he had the lead. He ran wide. The guy to his inside got dive bombed, and then he got the short end of the stick. That's just how it is. It's not like Sam meant to do it. It's not like he purposely wanted to drive up to Ty Gibbs and make sure that he loses a whole bunch of spots. But it's uncalled for. It's reckless. It's unnecessary. It's uncalled for him to not only beat the shit out of him after the race, but drive him to his car, rear end him, trying to cause him to spin out when the race is over. And everybody's trying to slow down. I mean, like, some of these drivers, like, once the race is over, they take off their belts, and it's like, if you hit somebody, it's a big issue.
That and to leave your helmet on, too. It's like, it's the rule number 1 of fighting in stock car. If you're going to fight, that's fine. But either both of you leave your helmets on or both of you take your helmets off. It can't be one or the other. It's got to be... If you're going to do fisticuffs, you either have to be both be helmetless or both have your helmets on.
Yeah. I watched the replay too. It's like, Sam, he didn't do anything. Like, he's just like, he's like, what the fuck's your problem? It's like, I don't understand why you're mad at me for. And then, like, he shoves him. And then obviously, if I was in his shoes and somebody shoved me, I'm going to be pissed. I'm like, yo, what the fuck's your problem? Like, you try to wreck me after the race, and then you come up to me and shove me. It's like, of course I'm going to come back after you. I'm not just going to be like, oh, whatever. It's no big deal.
Yeah, while he's taking his helmet off, too. And he knows they're fucking big-ass helmets. And so when he was taking his helmet off, he couldn't see Ty. So there was also a moment of blindness when he's taking the headstock off, the helmet off, all that stuff. Like, he's taking it all off, and then Ty Gibbs pushes. So, A, that's a chicken shit pussy move to, like, A, when your opponent is blinded, and then punch him. He probably had no idea why he was mad, so he's taking his helmet off, hopefully to be like, okay, let me figure out why this dude's mad. And then as you can't even see, in that like split second you can't see, suddenly you're being punched in the chest. I'd come after his ass too and call him a jackass, because I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
And like at that point too, it's like you're in the heat of the moment. It's not like you're gonna be like, okay, like let's settle down. It's like, no, like you're pissed, like you're furious. Like if somebody comes up to you and do that, you're gonna be fuming. Your blood's boiling.
Yeah, that and it didn't look like Mayer was even gonna throw. Like, obviously he like flicked his helmet. Clearly he was mad, and I think if Ty was trying to start a fight, like you saw Mayer, he like flicked his helmet. It was like, if you're going to do something, take your helmet off, and called him a jackass, and that's when Ty started swinging. Just like...
Yeah. But I just don't understand how people can defend him.
Because I saw some people trying to defend Ty Gibbs. I'm just like, buddy, there's nothing here to defend. Like, even if you're a hardcore Joe Gibbs fan, you gotta be cringing in your boots when you see that.
Yeah. Them boots are full of cringe.
Yeah. My boots filled to the brim with cringe.
There's a cringe in my boot.
The cringe in my... That's the episode title right there.
There we go.
There's some cringe in my boot.
Just put Ty Gibbs instead of Woody's boot.
Do I have time to do Photoshop? I'll figure it out. But even then, it's just this whole scenario is just incredible. Like it's like I said earlier, he had every right to be upset at the situation, but make sure you have, or at least try to get your information before you go fight somebody, because Sam Mayer did absolutely nothing wrong, and he got the shit beat out of him for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. And there has to be a penalty for that. I mean, I know they said they're going to investigate it, but there's got to be a penalty. There's no way that they can just say, like, oh, no, nothing happened. It's okay. We're all good. It's like, nah. Nah, you can't just let him just get away with that.
No, so on Wednesday I'm expecting a big, especially after the official got hurt. Like there was a NASCAR official that got injured and all that too. So it's like,
Yeah. Luckily, he didn't get anything serious, but
no, like
still,
it was
you
treated
don't
and
want him
released that
to.
same night.
Yeah. You don't want any official to get hurt.
No, it's like, so that also comes down now to personal safety, where it's just like, just how bad it was. I think that's why the crew stepped in and tried to pull them away from each other, is because they knew Ty had his helmet on. Sam Mayer was completely defenseless at that point. So like, I don't punch him once or twice and then just it's one of those things that it's hard to say because we're not in that situation. It's easy for us to sit at our desks and be like, well, I should have done this. But at the same time, it's like if if he was gonna swing on him and keep his helmet on, punch him once, twice, and then let that anger flow out, and then try to walk away. Don't continue to wail on the man after you've clearly knocked him off his feet and now everyone else is involved.
Yeah. Yeah, no, don't do that.
So anything else of note you would like to bring up, whether
Nope,
regarding to this situation or not?
I think that's it. I think we pretty much hit everything that we wanted to talk about. So.
Okay. Alrighty. So once again, I want to apologize to the audience for it's still a long video, but an abbreviated, quick video. We're not going to do a points update this time around because of it, because it takes a lot of time in editing, and it's just a whole thing that I don't currently have a lot of time for. So that being said, I think we're just going to wrap it up here. I will see you guys. Oh, wait, no, I can do this, though. I will say, for terms of points, I did do them. I've updated them. We're not going to do a full top 10 update, but I will say the points lead has not really... The points leader in each series has not changed. So Ryan Blaney is still leading the Cup points like he was last week. AJ Allmendinger still holds the top spot in Xfinity. And Chandler Smith is still holding the top spot over Zane Smith for trucks. And so with that, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll see you guys next weekend for Bristol Dirt.
All right. See you guys next time.